from the City of Jackson Engineering Department, Troy White. Troy,
Thanks for having me,
welcome
Bart.
back. Good to see you.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, such a busy time
Oh,
for
yeah.
you guys. Yeah, thanks for taking time to be with us.
Yeah, I've been out running around to all the jobs all morning, just taking care of little things, keeping things moving.
Well, one of the big projects, which I think is probably the one that's going to impact the most in terms of numbers and traffic, is the 4th Street project. And I don't even want to call it a project, it's projects.
Right, there's actually 2 separate contractors working on 2 separate contracts out there, but they're just working concurrently, so to the public, they probably will never know the difference. But, having them work at the same time makes a lot more sense than having them work one after the other. The goal is to minimize the disturbance,
Well, that whole area,
inconvenience.
yeah, and we really the whole area has been under a lot of disturbance over the last couple of years with the bike path and the.
Well, last year we did the first phase of the 4th Street work when we worked at the Hickory Road intersection, right there by the golf course and the entry into the park. We built a roundabout there and got that
Beautiful.
done. Yeah,
Everybody loves the roundabout. It's great.
it's working.
You can get in and out of the
And
park.
that's actually open to traffic right now. If you if you go through the park from one end of the park to the other on Oak, on Hickory, you can actually it's wide open. Unfortunately for motorists, is on both sides of that roundabout on 4th Street, it is closed because that's where the work's happening.
Will that roundabout stay open then through, say, this weekend's Art Beer and Wine?
Yeah. And we put up. Well, this weekend they have the Beer and Wine Festival. I think it's actually Beer, Wine, and Art Festival out there, and we actually put up some additional signing to help people navigate through the park. If you're coming in from the south off Horton Road, we've got some signs that direct you onto Hickory and through the new roundabout and right into the park.
So at the north end of the project, you're milling the pavement right now.
Right. Well, they're probably wrapping that up right about now. But they started yesterday with the mill, and then as soon as the milling's done, they're going to go right into removing the middle of the old roundabout. The one right in front of Parkside. The whole roundabout's not getting replaced. Just parts of it are. It's being upgraded to kind of be a little bit more modern and be more consistent with the other roundabouts we have. When that one was built, it was kind of early in the progression of roundabouts. It was a 2-lane roundabout, and I think it's worked, but when we get done, it's going to work a lot better, a lot less confusion as to who's supposed to drive where when they're using that.
And then up into Essex Heights. We'll come back to 4th Street in a minute, but here's what's going on in Essex Heights.
Well, in Essex Heights, all the new water main is in, and right now on the first half of it between West Ave and Grovedale, they're getting ready to start putting things back together. They're taking out the old curbs and getting ready for the new curbs. I think the concrete crew's showing up Friday, and they'll start with the curb work first, and then they'll work to put all the sidewalks and driveways back together so we can get ready for paving. And then further up the hill, they're right now they're connecting houses to the new water main.
Oh.
When we replace a water main, you got to put a new one in. The old one stays in while the new one's in, and then after they're both up and running, you tie them over. And I think we talked about this before. We are now replacing services for those houses that have lead services all the way into their basement. So it's a little bit new territory for us, but it's working.
You're actually going into the houses and replacing?
Yes, yep. All the way into the basement. We actually did some of it last year on Crescent and Edgewood. This year we're up in the Heights doing it, and we picked a great place to cut our teeth because when we did Crescent and Edgewood, it's a little more consistent as to what you see from house to house. Up there in the Heights, everything's so original and different that each house is its own puzzle. But we're getting them. Got to be done.
Yeah, I think there's some houses up there, the basements and the garages are actually maybe a couple of levels below the living space, so it's it's challenging.
And there's a couple of them where usually the water service would just go through the basement, the wall of the basement, and there's the meter there. But there's some finished basements there. There's some places where there's been additions put on, so the water service goes under the garage or under another part of the house. So every house has to have a different solution up there.
All right, back to the roundabout, the one that's being redone now. Really, if everyone used the roundabout the way it was designed, which is if you use the outside lane if you're going to split off,
right,
and stayed on the inside lane if you're going to go through,
right,
it'd be fine.
it would be.
but everyone doesn't.
Well, I think what happens is, I think really where the hard part is, and this is just me talking, it's part of some study, but you know those two legs, the leg that comes in from West Ave and the leg that goes into the Parkside parking lot, they're so close together.
Yeah.
I'm not sure people really understood how to behave in that situation, and those who wanted to do what you just described, stay on the inside, well, they pretty much started to assume that everybody else wasn't going to do that, so we pretty much all started staying on the outside because we didn't know what the other people were doing, even if we knew what we wanted to do. But when we get done, it'll be a one-lane roundabout, and there'll be no confusion as to where you're supposed to be.
And it will function like the one that exists at the Sharp Park entrance.
Right, which is actually the same dimensions and the same construction as the one over at on Kibbe Road at the entrance into the Cascades Park.
Which is great too.
Right.
Yeah, so people are saying, oh my gosh, the Art Beer and Wine, could you have not delayed the start of this project?
You know what? We've already delayed it as much as we could. There's a couple things here. There's really what's the hard date for us is trying to get this done before school starts. In my experience, I'm not speaking for the schools at all, but if you do it at the end of the year, people know their school and they know where they're going. What you really don't, there's a little bit of confusion, obviously, but what you really don't want is you don't want confusion on the first day of school or the first week of school. So, we ended up delaying longer than we would like to, but it was necessary for the Rose Parade because it's a Rose Parade route, right? I mean,
yeah.
How could you not? But then we wanted to hit the ground running because we already would have liked to be a couple weeks into this, just so that we can get that road open before school starts. Because it doesn't just impact Parkside down there. It impacts Sharp Park School too. We got two schools right in close proximity, so that was the primary driving concern. The other thing is, there's always events at the park
All summer long.
all summer long,
Yeah.
which is a good thing, but also makes hard. You can't really plan around every one of them either.
Well, there are two other entrances to Sharp Park that people will be able to use.
Well, actually, I'm thinking about this. There's the entrance off of Jackson. There's the entrance off of Stonewall. You can come in off
Three other
Prober,
entrances, yeah.
And the main entrance is open if you can get to it. But
Right.
if you're coming up from the south and you want to get into the park, you're coming up Horton, from down there in Summit Township. You got the easiest route into the park of everybody.
Straight in, just
Right.
through the park. Awesome.
It was a similar. We had the same thing last year with Civil War muster, and then there was cross country meets, and I guess it's a good thing to always have stuff, but at the same time, it makes it difficult to accommodate all of them. But like I said, to mitigate that, we did put up some extra signing this year, both to direct people, with the sign that says to L. Sharp Museum and Park. So, they're not just for the museum, but for the park. But hopefully, that'll help mitigate some of the confusion. And basically, any route that you would be taking into the park, whether it's West Ave or 4th Street, or Stonewall or Horton, there's signs that will tell you where to go to get into the park. So, if you have a hard time getting to the park, it's probably because you're not reading the signs.
Yeah, or you don't live here.
Well, even if you don't live here, you're probably more likely to read the signs, right?
That's true. All right.
Those of us who live here, we think we know what we're doing. So,
All right, so that's the big one. That's the major projects. What else are you working on this summer now?
well, right now we've got some local street work we're finishing up. Like we just looked at Essex Heights. We actually paved the first course over on Edgewood up there by Loomis Park this week.
Very nice, yeah.
Next week we got to do the Ganson intersection. So that's going to be a headache for people to have Ganson closed because it's probably going to be closed for about 3 weeks, but it's got to be done. We're starting work on 2nd Street this week. They're actually out there digging holes now to start putting a new water main on 2nd. We're going to be doing new water main and new pavement on Stewart. That's all part of that same contract with 2nd. And then I think the last big project that we don't have a contractor for yet that's out for bids is a Greenwood. Greenwood between Morale and then up through the Austin Blair Park and up to then Jackson Street up to Franklin. That whole thing's getting redone.
All right, a lot of exciting things because, as we said, it's going to be great when it's done.
It will be. I think those people coming up 4th Street, though, because when we do start Greenwood, we're going to have 4th Street closed in 2 spots and then Greenwood closed. But once we get done, we won't have to do it again for a while, right?
Yeah, it will be nice. Great to see you. Thanks for all the updates, Troy.
Okay, no problem.
From the City of Jackson Engineering Department, Troy White. Up next here on